Hello, everybody. This is Bob Giglio. I'm back in my shop after a very nice summer. So now I'm going to be doing some more videos. And the one I want to do for you now is just a recap on a bandsaw that my brother Mark gave me. That belonged to the beloved Leo Barron, or Uncle Leo, as he's known in the family to us. But I wanted to go through some of the things that I did to this bandsaw and upgraded it. And I'm sure he'd be very happy with seeing some of these upgrades. So here's the bandsaw. It's a Reliant 16-inch bandsaw, which is not common. It's actually one of the biggest ones I've seen. Most of them are 14 inches on the large side, but this one is bigger, and that's a unique feature with it. And so let's start at the bottom with the cabinet. So as you can see, the cabinet I built for it, which gives it a very mobile application, which was key for a small shop like mine. So it has some heavy-duty casters on it. As you can see, they roll around quite nicely and they lock really securely. The cabinet itself is designed to maximize the space, so I used a faceless cabinet for this. I built it out of 3/4 inch plywood, maple veneered plywood, and then the sides of the drawers I used 1/2 inch plywood. So as you see, I used some nice sturdy sliders, drawer slides on the side, and I even added a custom feature where I built this partition area here so I could store the blades anywhere from the full 1-inch size blades down to really the really tiny ones, the flexible 1/4 inch blades, so, or 1/8 inch, sorry. And you can see how nicely it is. All the doors are soft closed doors and drawers, so that's a very nice feature. And so I added a lot of extra storage to my shop just by making this cabinet more functional for storing all sorts of things related to sawing with straight blades. Let's see, what else I did was I made this little rack over here, this holder for the miter gauge that goes with the saw here. As you can see here, very nice. You don't want to use it, and you're not using it, then we just go ahead and store it right there. So that's a definite upgrade. It used to be a metal stand. Let me show you. This is what came with it. And what I did was I put some wheels on it, and I've been using it for my joiner temporarily. So I'm going to build a cabinet for my joiner next. That's my next project that I'm going to do for you. Going back to the bandsaw, let's see, some of the other upgrades I did was I added these very nice polyurethane notched V-belts that you can adjust the size. You can see in there, these belts are great because they're virtually vibration free and they give you a nice quiet operation. As you can see, that red belt with the notches in it. So that was another upgrade. So the thing I did, let's go to the saw now, was I cleaned the top. I cleaned it with a lot of just, scouring pads, and Barkeeper's helper really helped. Then what I did was I cleaned that off. Some surface rust came with that, and then I waxed it. So it's a nice top now. And I also added an electrical outlet here because I wanted a light. As you see now, I have a nice LED light now that it will give me some clear vision of where the line is I'm trying to cut. So I did that. And what else did I added a vacuum dust collection port to this. So as you can see down here, I basically made this out of plywood. And what it is a piece of plywood banded with some magnets. And this sits just underneath the blade, and the blade slot itself, let me show you under here. This blade slot right here between the table and this chamber underneath this plywood is then under a vacuum, because here's the vacuum port, and it keeps a negative pressure. So all the sawdust that does not escape out of the slot goes into the vacuum. It works very well. I say it captures like 90% of the dust. And it's adjustable so that I can turn this adjustment and have it be able to adjust the table all the way down to like a 30-degree angle if needed, and still have this in place. So that was definitely a good upgrade for the bandsaw. And another important upgrade was the blade tensioner. So the blade tensioner you can see in the back of the saw here. And I added this new crank style blade tensioner. So you can crank down or crank up the tension of the blade. And every time you use the saw, you're supposed to crank it up. And then when you're not using it, it's supposed to be relieved. The stress or the pressure on the tension on the blade is supposed to be off, so you don't ruin the blade or shorten its life. So that made it so much easier for me. As you can see how easy this is to go up and down now. And what I replaced was the old or the stock factory one, which looked like this, and this sat in there like this, but it was hard to grab a hold of because you're butting your hand right against the side of this, and there's no leverage because you're just twisting this. And the other thing that made it difficult was, as you can see here, that the threads were, let me focus that for you. The threads were worn right at the spot where the blade had to be tensioned. So it was just not a good design, and the nut was undersized. The nut here, the square nut, was undersized. Now I have a nice heavy-duty nut that I'll show you here. You can see it. This is a nice full-size heavy-duty nut you see right there. So it just makes it so much easier to tension the blade. And I put a mark here on right here, you can see, and that's for a 1/2-inch blade. So I know when to tension, when to stop cranking, when the nut gets to that point, and that's about the right blade tension. So that really is going to help me in the future use this easily. So the last thing I did was I added new tires. I replaced the tires. Let me show you. So these blue tires right here, these are urethane. They're high performance tires, and they give you a nice smooth sound, very low sound, and it gives you a nice smooth operation. So that's about it, and let me just start it up for you, and I'll show you the vacuum, how that works, and I'm pretty happy with this upgrade project. So I attached the vacuum hose, as you can see, underneath the table here, and let me show you how it sounds and how it cuts and collects the dust. I hope this video was helpful for you. It gives me now another tool for the shop that I'm sure we're going to find many purposes for our uses for. And one of those uses is resawing. So we didn't talk about it, but this fence, very nice fence here. I'm going to modify this by making it taller. But I mean, you can do a lot of what's called resawing and reducing the thickness of wood, natural woods, birch, hardwoods, maple, oak, and you can use that in a lot of different projects. So that's one of the big uses that people use these saws for, but also for cutting curves and decorative designs in wood and other materials. You can use it for that as well. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video and that you took something away from it that's helpful, and we'll see you on the next video.